Hi everybody, and thanks for viewing this YouTube fly tying tutorial. The pattern I'm going to be sharing with you today is known as the Splitsville Caddis. And if you haven't heard of it before, don't worry, it took me a while to figure it out too. I really enjoy fishing the upper Delaware water system, and I heard through some of the fly shops of this pattern, the Splitsville Caddis, and heard it was really catching some fish. So I did a little Google search of it because I'd never heard of it, and there was very little information out there, except for the fact that it was already being sold on the Orvis website. It kind of piqued my interest just a little bit, so I kind of explored Google a little bit more and found out that it was developed by a guy who lives in New York known as Mr. Jonny King. I contacted him. He really prefers to be called Johnny, and he gave me a lot of information about this fly. So Johnny, if you do watch this, I really do appreciate all that information you gave me. He also informed me that it was going to be in an upcoming Fly Fisherman magazine, and it is. It's featured in the February-March 2014 issue. And if you have a chance to check this out, definitely do so. There's some great pictures that he took to kind of help you and guide you in the process. And he also expands on some other patterns that you can utilize this method in. Well, the gist of it is that he took this, this method that was popularized by Bob Quigley, known as the Hackle Stacker, and he used it to split the caddis wing and create almost a delta wing. By doing so, it really does give that great profile of the caddis, but it also really makes this pattern look extremely buggy. I'm going to tie it for you today. I'm going to tie the basic Splitsville Caddis. The sky is absolutely the limit with this pattern, so don't be afraid to experiment. Try it out with spinners, emergers, and other duns and see exactly how it works for you on your home waters. So with that said, I'm going to get to the vise and I'm going to tie for you the Splitsville Caddis. Okay, for starters, here's a Splitsville Caddis. This is not a completely tied caddis. As you can tell, there's a really large portion of bare hook there. But I just wanted to give you an example of how your finished product's going to look, at least from the side and from the top. Here are the deer wings. You can see how they're split in that delta formation, and then I have hackle going right up between them, and I have a nice, clean, finished head. You can just see without even having the body on it, this fly just screams bugginess. You have that really strong profile of the caddis wings, and that hackle is just splaying everywhere. That's the way you want your finished product looking. And I'm going to go into the exact tying of this pattern now so you know exactly how that process works to create that Hackle Stacker and bring it up through the deer hair. Okay, let's start tying this Splitsville Caddis. I have just a standard dry fly hook in my vise. If you really are going for more of that curved or that caddis or emerger look, you want to use a hook like that, absolutely go for it. I really just am focusing on the process and the fact that this is a barbless hook. I have some tan 8/0 thread, and I'm just going to dub a pale olive body about 3/4 of the way up. We have a lot of naturals in our area of this shade, and I really like this dubbing, though it can be kind of a mess. You'll see what I mean here in a second. If you're unsure what color to start with, if you're unsure of the caddis in your area, my advice is go with tan. There are just so many tan caddis all around the country. Now, if you have a fly shop close by that you can contact, by all means go that route first. But if you're just in a pinch and you're not sure which color, definitely tan is my go-to. You can see with this dubbing, there are a lot of different colors blended together. And sometimes those colors just, with all those extra fibers, they just seem to pop out. But for the most part, this one stayed relatively together. So I'm going to work it from this point. And next I'm going to create my Hackle Stacker. I zoom out just a little bit so you can see this. To create this, I'm going to need a couple dubbing loops. I'm basically just going to hold my finger and wrap the thread around it once. Lock that in place. And then create a second loop around my finger, trap that one, hold them up in the air, and place one wrap behind them. Now I've created 2 loops. Think of these basically like a parachute post. I'm going to be wrapping hackle up this post. It's really soft, which is why I created 2. It's very flexible, so whenever you're choosing your hackle, you have to think that you really have to make sure that you're using hackle with a stem that's easy to turn around this post. Next, the question that I really had that was answered was, how far up this post do you wrap? Basically, you want to go from the thread, where it's hanging right now, to the eye of the hook, that far up. I'm going to use a nice, kind of like a dun grizzly hackle. It just blends in well with this fly. creates a little, looks like it has a little bit of movement in the coloration. But the main reason I like to use it is the fact that it's also got a really soft stem. So I'm just going to lock the base of this hackle in. And I want the hackle going basically behind it. You can wrap clockwise or counterclockwise. Jonny recommends wrapping counterclockwise, and for some reason it definitely seems to work better that way for me. I'm not sure if it's because I can grab it better with my fingers, but I'm just going to wrap a few times up, going counterclockwise. And once I get up to that distance that I was kind of shooting for, I'm just going to slowly start wrapping back down. And the hackle is going to have a tendency to want to come up, so you may have to battle it whenever you're trying to wrap back down those loops. But once I have it to the bottom and I have enough hackle on it, I'm just going to hold the hackle straight out, stroke these other fibers back, and lock it in place. Let me zoom in so you can see what's going on here. So I'm just going to stroke those back. Once I have them out of the way, I know I can trim this tip section of this feather out of here. Okay, looks like there might be one little fiber shooting forward, but I might be able to get him and trap him back. So I'm just going to take that fiber and all these other ones, just pull them back a little bit. He did escape me. And move back to where the point was where my thread was last. Next time I go back to my dubbing, I'm just going to dub forward just a little bit. Just because if I don't, there'll be a little bit of tan thread showing under. There won't be much, but I'm just going to put one wrap, and next time I go to my deer hair. I have some nice coastal deer hair. This is intended typically for humpies because it's a little bit longer. I like that for a number of reasons, but mainly because it really is just very fine, and it looks great going back. I'm going to grab a nice cluster of it. Don't be afraid to get a healthy pinch, because you're going to be separating this into the delta wing. So you want to make sure you have a nice cluster, enough that when it does separate, you do have a strong profile. And then I'm going to stack this. So I got my cluster, cut it. Before I stack it, I'm just going to hold it by the tips, wiggle all this excess out. Place it in my stacker. I'm using a stacker from Stonfo. What's nice about this stacker, it comes with two sizes of these, but also, as Sean Mooney pointed out, it's got this nice rubber bottom. And if you decide to stack deer hair in the middle of the night and you have rubber on the bottom of your stacker, there's less chance that your wife will hear. Once I have it stacked, pull it out, make sure all those tips are aligned. If so, grab them. Shake this excess, line them up, and I basically want these tips going almost to the bend. I want a strong profile, so just basically line them up so they're almost to the bend. Switch over. I might put one loose wrap, a second loose wrap, and my third wrap. I'm going to bear down, tie back. I'm going to tie forward into them just a little bit. They'll kind of flare out, so I don't want them flaring too much. I'm just going to wrap back. All right, it's at this point I'm going to trim them. I really don't want those tips anywhere near the eye of that hook, so I'm going to use some fine scissors for this. If you feel more comfortable using a razor blade, by all means do that. I would, however, whenever I have a razor blade on and I'm filming for YouTube, bad things definitely tend to happen, so I'm going to try to play it safe here. Okay, for the most part I have all those fibers away from the eye of the hook. I really just want to make sure that eye is clear, so whenever I go to tip it in this in the future, everything will be alright. I'm going to wrap through all those stems for a couple reasons, mainly to make sure they're secure, but also just to lock them in. Make sure I have a nice smooth area to finish off the eye of the hook. All right, finally, before I pull forth my hackle, I'm just going to dub a nice head on this caddis. I'm going to go back with that same color to match the body. Get a little bit more on there. Okay, now I'm up to the final step. Now what I want to do is create that delta wing by pulling my hackle right through the middle of that deer hair wing. So right now it looks kind of like that elk hair caddis, but I'm going to be separating it. So I want to try my best to kind of force that deer hair in two directions so I can bring this hackle right up through the center of it. I think I found a nice location. I'll show you the look from the top. You can see it's kind of twisting one a little bit more than the other. So I'm just going to kind of rearrange some of those fibers, get them kicked off into the right way. Once I have it to a spot where I like it, to finish this off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to really get aggressive as I'm making my final wraps to lock these two loops in place. Let me make sure I got this coming through at the right spot. Just not liking how one of these wings is looking. Okay, now I got it. So I'm going to pull this tight, pull all the other fibers back. And when I do that, I'm going to then just completely lash it and finish off the head of the fly. Okay. Got it locked in place. One up, quick half hitch. And then whip finish to complete the Splitsville Caddis. All right, let me give you a quick overview of what we have going on with this pattern. From the side profile, you can see that there is just a lot of stuff happening here. It almost looks kind of like, I believe as Bob Quigley coined it, a proof of life. There's just an explosion of just fibers going everywhere. If we examine this from the bottom, we have a strong flat body, really slender, but then you can see that delta profile of the wing as it just V's off in different direction with all these hackle fibers just splitting out from the head. I'll give you a 360. Now going around, you can see that nice split of the delta wing. Coming back around, we have this deer hair. And again, there's that smooth body, the smooth bottom of that body, so it can just sit right in the surface of the water and then just have all these other fibers playing around in the currents. So with that said, there is the finished Splitsville Caddis, and I really appreciate you watching this tutorial. First of all, though, thanks do have to go out to Jonny King. Thanks, Jonny, again for everything, for all the correspondence, and it was great running into you at the Somerset Fly Fishing Show. Thanks for the guidance regarding this fly. You got a great pattern here, and I'm really excited to share this with others. And thanks to all of you for watching this YouTube fly tying tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them directly on this YouTube page, or you can email me at tcammisa@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for viewing this YouTube fly tying tutorial of the Splitsville Caddis.